Okay, hello everyone. So we're waiting for our guest. He's joining us shortly. And thank you all for coming. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is very good. Thank you. I'm very happy to have you, Ms. President, Dr. Sana.
My pleasure, dear. I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Ghada, this is Rania. Ghada, can you put the camera a little bit lower? We can only see half your face.
Okay. So,
Yes,
thank you, Rania.
Yes, your beautiful face, mashallah. Now we can see it.
Okay, thank you so much, dear. Thank you. And we have Amr here. Thank you so much, Dr. Amr, for joining us. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
I can hear you clearly, even without the headset. So thank you for coming today, and let me introduce you shortly. So just a minute. I'm juggling different things. Okay. So, okay. So here we go. So Dr. Amr Ali is a writer and a sociologist. Is the co-president of the Arab-German Young Academy of Sciences and Humanities in Berlin, the EGAIA. He's a visiting fellow at the Free University in Berlin right now. Dr. Amr Ali has received his PhD in sociology and political philosophy from the University of Sydney, and his work can be found at www.amrali.com. He writes Amr with an O at the end. Okay, so I hope this is accessible for everyone. Thank you so much for accepting the talk for today.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghada.
So your topic is, there's a PhD, then there's a PhD life.
Yeah,
you have prepared a beautiful 8 tips for people who are writing.
Yes. I hopefully it will be of some value to the PhD students or aspiring PhD students. And it's really a pleasure to be with you all today. And thank you, Dr. Ghada, for organizing this. And what I will do is, so I'll be using PowerPoint slides. And yes. 1 second. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint slides?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why the video is turned off, but okay. Okay, so I want to begin by suggesting that someone once asked me many years, well, recently actually, it was a year ago, and they said, if you could go back in time, what would you do? And I said I would go back to my PhD and tell myself that it was never that complicated, that my thesis was deliberately complicated by me. And then I started to realize that I lived in a world where everyone who does a PhD seems to complain about their PhD because it's fashionable to complain about your PhD. And so the matter really got me thinking about how one engages with one of the most important chapters, no pun intended, of one's life. So I just want to... Okay, so the fact of the matter is that everyone, I should actually, before I start, I should say the whole PowerPoint slides is in memes. Now, the memes are not to scare you. It's actually, the whole point of these memes is to rebut these memes, to reject them, to show you why they're not, they're more, they might have some truth in it, but most of the time it's more done for entertainment. And this is what I see PhD students sharing, is these type of images. So I'm going to engage in these images to show you why they are not really, I won't say that they're not, that they cannot happen, but that they can be overcome. So the talk basically is a mix of personal and observations I've made over the years of other PhD students and how they engage with their PhD. And I'm taking a very informal and conversational approach. Okay, apparently I can also admit participants in this discussion. So some information for you might be, hello? Yeah. So some information might be new. It actually might be common sense to you, but I just want you to remember that the most important thing is that this is supposed to be a reminder that what you might have suspected or you might have forgotten, this is just to bring it back into the forefront of why, where, when, and how you do your PhD. So let us commence with the first part, just to let you know that instead of taking a chronological approach about doing a PhD, a cause and effect, let's look at the spaces of one's PhD life and how we can animate it, how we can improve it, rather than just going through like year by year. Let's look at the areas that are recurring all the time and how we can fix it or animate it or improve it or resuscitate it if need be. So first of all, it is something where I call not just the will, but the rage. The idea that you need to be uncomfortable with the status quo. There is a reason, if you're on the social sciences or the humanities or the arts, there is a reason why you do the thesis. Of course, I'm sure there might be an economic or social mobility aspect, but also that there's something in the world that makes you uncomfortable, and that is why you're doing a PhD. If everything was nice, if everything was perfect, if everything was okay, and you were content with the status quo, you would not be doing a PhD. The reason why you do a PhD is that there's something that unsettles your soul in the world, and you want to address it. And it brings me to my next point. Loving your thesis. It really makes the difference. Loving your thesis is the make or break. Now, I remember when I started my PhD, I remember meeting a PhD student who was in the Department of Politics and International Relations at the University of Sydney, and he was doing a very interesting thesis. It was on the politics of shark attacks, the shark attacks. And he said to me that people laughed at my topic when I introduced it, but I finished my topic before anyone else. And so, and the things he emphasized that you really have to love what you do. And Dr. Ghada has told me that in Egypt, it's not always your thesis that you choose. It's not always your topic. But I would also suggest that you try and find a way to make peace with your topic, even if it means you have to reinvent the motive of why you're doing the thesis. Because you can always find some angle of it where you can see it of benefit to you and to humanity. And on that same platform, you need to crystallize your worldview. If I was to ask you, what is your worldview? What is your philosophy in life? You should be able to give me the gist of it in a minute, because that really will reflect on your thesis. You've got to actually be philosophical about your relationship to your thesis. Now, it's not every day someone at a party will ask you, what's your worldview? I don't think that's going to really happen. But it helps to be aware of why you do what you do, and also connect what you do with a bigger picture of life. The other matter is that you've got to also be aware that not everyone can do a PhD. Sometimes it feels like everyone is doing a PhD because you're surrounded by PhD students, but it's actually a privilege to be in this position anywhere in the world to do a PhD, because 99% of humanity cannot do a PhD. And it's not for poverty reasons or class reasons, but it just could be that someone has health reasons or has to look after the family business, etc. Many people idealize the idea of doing a PhD, but they're not able to make that step because of countless obstacles. So if you can make it just to the level of being enrolled in a PhD, Alfa Mabruk, congratulations. This is really, really a mighty step in your life. The other aspect of it comes down to the writing. That is obviously what makes it possible to write the PhD. And one way to look at it is that how many minutes can you put in a day? How many, can you put 20 minutes at the very least? Because you're going to have your up days and your low days. But but you've got to treat these days, the days that you choose to write your PhD, as something that's sacred, as a way to put input. And I just want you to remind you that never think if you have a bad day where you don't write anything, that you haven't actually done something. Because often what's happening is that your ideas are accumulating at the back of your mind and it's building up, but you haven't actually crystallized it. And so sometimes when you think you haven't written, you have actually written it, but in your head, and it just pops up later when deadlines come or a moment of inspiration comes. So don't be harsh on yourself on this matter. The other approach to writing is to find a style of writing you love. Okay, is there a book, is there a novel out there that you love, that has had an impact on you, and that if you can negotiate it with your supervisor, you can incorporate this style of writing? So the content is important, but the style is important as well. Now, there are academic supervisors who are very, very rigid and they don't like colorful and flowery language. Okay, that's one matter. But do you have a supervisor where you can incorporate a style of writing that you're experimenting on? For example, I like the writings of Italo Calvino, the novella Invisible Cities. Sometimes I think about, could I incorporate that style of writing in my approach to my work? When I was doing my thesis, I fell in love with the writings of Hannah Arendt. Can I use this German philosopher as a way to incorporate that into my thesis writing? And yes, I did. I very much did. So the thing is, think of a book that you really love in terms of style and see if you can use the thesis as a project where you can improve your style of writing, not just the content, where you can introduce a new way of writing, at least new to you in life, that will give the thesis a breath of fresh air, that it makes the readers and examiners want to keep on reading this. Another 2 points that I'll raise. I mean, this writing topic is huge and I can't go into everything, but I will just get into the gist of it. And that is the title. Never underestimate the title of your work. The title sets the tone of the writing, not just the thesis title, but the chapter title. A good title can give you the motivation and the focus and the structure to be able to write in a certain way. And it's okay, you can change the title later on if the content moves in a different direction. That's okay, but always focus on the title, never underestimate it. Finally, on this point, the beginnings. Now, the introduction or the beginning of a chapter is really, really crucial, because a good introduction is really like 50% work already done of a chapter. If you really, really solidified it, it makes the conclusion easier to tie back to the introduction, but it also makes the body possible to flourish and to get